Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. I wanted to take this as an opportunity to share my journals for 2025 and just reflect on how I use them, what I use them for, and what's worked for me, because I find watching those kinds of videos really helpful and useful. So yeah, let's jump into it. So I have been a journaler since I was probably 6 years old. I've always kept a journal on and off throughout my life, but it really hasn't been until I was in my 20s in college that I started to be more, persistent, consistent about it. And really, I think it's been in the last 2 years that I've really sort of gotten very dedicated about journaling, and I do it every day, and I love doing it every day. Whereas before it'd be like I'd maybe journal for a couple weeks and then I'd stop, or I would journal, here and there every so often. But now I do it I don't like to use the word consistently because it makes my brain feel icky, but very persistently, which equates to me to consistency as just like a side bonus kind of effect. Okay, so let's jump into it. So this was the first journal that really drew me in the last 2 years. This is like the first one that I really started with, and it's kind of just like expanded since then. But this is my Hobonichi Techo Cousin for 2024. So the company is Hobonichi, and the model of this journal is called a Cousin, and it's an A5 size book. And you can see I have it very chunky, and that's the great thing about this paper and this binding is the paper is very thin, so you can add a bunch of stuff to it. Obviously this is very thick, but it would be so much thicker if this was like a higher GSM paper essentially. And so what really drew me in and compelled me to starting this journal was the idea of memory keeping. So I have ADHD and my memory is atrocious. I remember nothing from my childhood, and all of my memories from my teenage years and my 20s are so fuzzy. Super fuzzy. So I was really drawn to this concept as a way to be oh wow, yes, I have a brain and a life and I do things, and it's just a really nice way to visually remember what I do throughout the year, what happens throughout the year. And it doesn't have to be oh my gosh, everything fabulous and fantastic. It can be really small joys, the daily sort of mundane joys, but I mean that in the best way, of course. Those special little moments, right? With your pets or with your partner or with your family, things like that. So let me see if I can find a spread that I really like to share. Oh yeah, this is a nice one. So this is one super simple. I just collaged something from a magazine, and this was Happy Mail from my friend, and just pasted in there so I can remember oh yeah, I cut this out of a magazine and it's really pretty and cute, and I got Happy Mail from a friend. And this one was from our 3-year anniversary. We watched Grave of the Fireflies. We had a picnic date. It was super cute with our dog. Adorable. This was more Happy Mail, and I think I watched Ponyo for the first time and I loved it. So little things like that. So this book is filled. I don't really want to share too much from this book because it wasn't really designed to share. I wasn't creating it with sharing in mind, but this is how I use this book. I'll show you a little bit more in my 2025 book. Let's see. So this is the same version, but from 2025. So this year. And I'm using the index as just a 1-line kind of memory keeping for that day. Let's see. The monthlies. Using the monthlies is a couple lines or just highlights from what happened that day. And then there are weekly spreads. This week just started, but I'll fill out, again, just like highlights, but like a more extended version, or like what I did that day, where I went, what I ate, what we did, what happened, just a little bit more space to expand. And if that sounds repetitive, it might be, but I don't really mind that too much because it helps me in my memory to write it a couple times. Like, it's not a bad thing for me. It actually helps like ground me in physical reality. And then we have the dailies over here. So I've been sick the last couple days. So just not feeling super great. But yeah, like I'll journal a little bit. I'll add stickers and decorations, ephemera. I've been doing, this was just from like a magazine that I got, and I just thought this was so pretty. I love these spreads. I've started using like full sticker sheets for my sticky club, and it's been wonderful. So yeah, I'll just like get really experimental and have a lot of fun. Sometimes I just do photos, and it's a great time. I really love being like creative and just playing around with this space. Cool. Okay, so after kind of like getting really familiar and acquainted with the Hobonichi Cousin, I next went over to Hobonichi Weeks. And I'm not going to show you this because this is my work planner, and I just have sensitive information here that I don't want to share, but I use this as a very basic planner. So maybe I can show you a like basic example. So this is what it looks like. So on this side, I'll have appointments, events, deadlines, like things that are maybe due that day or important for that day, or that happened that day that I want to remember happened. Like, we're getting our house worked on after it got like really messed up during a hurricane. So like kind of like documenting like, oh, the contractors came today and did this. On this side, I'll write kind of like general tasks that I want to remember that are important. And I'll often like carry them over if they're not urgent, but just having them written in a visual space like this really helps me a lot. And the reason why I love this as a planner so much is because these planners are designed to lay flat. Like this one, it's not going to very well because I haven't like worked in the pages by just like writing and using it every day because I've like skipped a couple weeks. But this lays flat so I can like leave it open on my desk, and it's super visual. And I have, right, if I have this like list of to-dos, it's almost like just a visual reminder that those tasks exist, so that when, you know, my brain is kind of like ready to do them, it's been kind of like presented to me a couple times. So I'm more likely to be like, oh yeah, right, that. I'm like totally able to do that right now. My brain says yes, so let's do it. And then in the very back, this is like the notes section, like blank sheets in the back. And I'll use these for like my daily to-do list tasks. So like Monday, right? Like schedule this client, like drop this off at the post office, like that kind of stuff. Just to help me like orient myself to my day and my life. So these were kind of like these are 2025, but I used the same system in 2024. This was my cutie little 2024 book. And then this year, because I had so much fun with the Hobonichi Weeks and Hobonichi Cousin, I decided to expand a little bit. Well, I guess first I should start and say, this is a Hobonichi, it's just a smaller size. It's the A6 Techo is what it's called. So you can see it's just a smaller version of the A5 size. It's A6. And this one I use for like daily, you can see it's just like smaller. I use this for daily journaling. So it's just such a small space that it always feels super accessible to fill the whole thing up. And it just feels like a really great way to like get dopamine for the day of like, oh, I did my journaling and it's filled and it's pretty because I use fountain pens. I have been loving this. I didn't start using this as a daily journal until October of last year, but now that I've been using it since then, I am totally just in love with using it, and it helps me journal every day. And it's just like, I like to say to myself, it's safe to do less, it's safe to do the bare minimum, because it really helps me with my all or nothing thinking and perfectionism tendencies. So having this be such a small amount of space for journaling, right, just like daily Dear Diary, stream of consciousness journaling, just makes it so, it makes it just feel like, yes, I could do this. If I were trying to do my daily journaling right now in a page that was this size, right, without stickers and like just writing, I think I would feel really overwhelmed and it would feel really hard. And that's not how I want to feel at the very beginning of my day in the mornings. That's just not what I'm going for. Okay, so expanding on that, this year I also decided to experiment with, this is the Hobonichi Weeks Mega, and so it has just a lot more notes pages in the back. I think it's like 200 instead of the 70 that the smaller version has. So this has more pages in the back for notes, and I got this journal, this notebook planner, as a kind of like dedicated intention sort of planner for me to just track and be, not really track, but more like be observant and intentional about my writing process, writing experiments, figuring out the things that help me and work for me and the things that don't work for me and I didn't like, the writing that I did that day, how I felt about writing that day, what I've discovered or learned, what's feeling hard this week versus what have I figured out, like all of those things. And I've been using this for the last 2 months and I really love it and I'm going to keep using it. It's been great. I don't want to show you things in here because, again, it's kind of like a lot of kind of personal ideas. Well, maybe I can show you one page. Let's see. No, too personal. That's okay. Okay, anyway, this is my 5-year journal. I also don't want to show you what's in here because it's also kind of personal, but you can get an idea. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do like a little flip, you know, like a little quick flip. Yeah, figuring it out. So this is my 5-year journal. This is meant for also memory keeping, but just what I consider like a different style of memory keeping. So I used to use the weekly pages to do exactly what I do in here. So instead of it being like kind of like almost like bullet points, I know these aren't bullet points, but you know what I mean, like broken up, I would write like full, like every single line filled, no stops, no skipping lines, just like writing straight out what happened that day. And that was okay, but it's just hard to read in this vertical format with such narrow columns. So I switched to putting that information in this 5-year journal. So I'm really excited to see what happens like when I filled out a couple years and I can look back and be like, oh, what happened on the day? Or like, what happened on my birthday or my partner's birthday and things like that. I think that's gonna be really cool. And so far I've had no problems filling it out every day. If I miss a day, I have my memory keeping journal to help me remember. And that usually is enough to help me fill this in if I like miss a day or two. So that's been great. And I've just started it and I'm super excited about it. And then okay, so now I guess we're now moving away from the Hobonichi journals and into my other journal systems. I do have one more, and this is my everything brain drain from Megan Rhiannon, Commonplace, special interests, ruminating thoughts that I'm trying to process, brainstorming ideas, plans, things that I'm struggling with, like it all goes in here. It's a fun time, messing around with my found pens, like it all goes in here. Thoughts about like a video I watched. It's got a lot going on, but I love it. And it just feels like a really safe, fun, creative space. And it's a good time. And I'm really grateful for this journal. Okay, so last two, I've also wanted to try this traveler's notebook size just to see if it was something that I enjoyed. And I'm still trying to figure that out. I started this book kind of as like reading notes, I guess, from books that I read. So that's going okay. I do feel like the space is a little small for this, but it feels small sometimes and not small other times is maybe what I would say. So I feel like this is a great size for like experimenting because the inserts are very tiny and not too expensive either. So they're like $7. So it's like a good way to like experiment and see like, is this like a good fit for my life, for my journal system, or is it not? So I really like it for like that kind of experimenting. And then I also just keep a, what is this called? Another insert in here. That's just for kind of like overflow, stream of consciousness, Dear Diary sort of journaling. If I have more that I want to write that day, but I've already filled up my A6 Techo for that daily entry. And I've actually found that I really love the sort of like daily dated pages. I didn't think that I would because I thought I would get a little bit demand avoidant over it, but it just feels like it's asking me to be filled. It's like, hey, would you fill me? Like, that would be kind of cool. That could be kind of fun. Like, you can do whatever you want. Write a sentence, put some stickers in if you want to. But like, hey, I'm here. And I don't find it too overwhelming for some reason. I'm very surprised about that, actually, but I really don't. It kind of is gentle, flexible structure, in my opinion. I don't worry too much about blank pages. Like, I think I had to miss a couple days of journaling in this book because I was sick. And I really don't worry about blank space or blank pages because I know I can just fill them later if I feel like it, and I also don't have to if I don't want to. And then my very last journal, this is getting very messy, is my drafting notebook, and this is what I use for drafting ideas for work, for coaching. I'm an ADHD and AuDHD coach, and so I write a lot of content for Substack and for Instagram, and so this is where I really like expand and expound on my ideas, or just brainstorm, or just kind of like compost them, regurgitate them, kind of like reshape them until there's something that I'm like, oh yes, that feels really good. So that's where I do this. This is a Leuchtturm 1916, just regular line notebook. And if I didn't say this before, I think I did, but this is a traveler's notebook from the Travelers Company. And I love this camel. I also have a passport. It's in my purse right now, so I'm not going to get it out. I have a passport size, and the leather, I'm so disappointed with it because it's not anywhere near as nice as this standard size one. And I guess that's okay because it's my like gym and purse journal, the little passport, so I'm throwing it around a lot. But it was kind of a bummer seeing how different the leather is, but maybe it'll even out over the couple years that I use it as it patinas. So that is my journal system. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for being here with me today. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I didn't like expand on that you want to hear more about, please let me know in the comments, and I would be really happy to explain more. Or yeah, there we go. That's it. So thanks again. Talk soon. See you later. Bye.